A new AARP Georgia poll shows Warnock leading his Republican opponent by about 4 points, but only time will tell if those numbers translate into actual ballots. Sam Brodey is with us now to talk more about this runoff race in Georgia. He's a congressional reporter for the Daily Beast. Good morning to you, Sam. Thanks for being here. So 90,000 voters have already cast their ballots early, which is a good sign. There's a lot of interest in this race. How does that compare to the other runoff that state had?
Yeah, well, I think first it's important to make the point that this runoff is unlike any other runoff the state has had, because last year Governor Brian Kemp, a Republican, and Republicans in the Georgia legislature passed a sweeping election overhaul law after the 2020 election. And one of the things that it did was cut the runoff campaign from 9 weeks, which it was in 2020, to 4 weeks, which it is now. So it is really a sprint that both Senator Warnock and Herschel Walker have had to do since the November election. So this is really kind of uncharted territory, and if you read and listen to longtime political people in Georgia and election observers, it's hard to know what exactly to expect. And I think another reason why that's the case is because in 2020, Georgia decided control of the Senate. This time around, Democrats have already secured a Senate majority. Now, whether they get an additional seat or not is pretty important, but Georgia will not decide Senate control. I will say that Senator Warnock and Democrats probably have reason to be optimistic about the turnout so far. Republicans have done well in the past in in-person early voting, but I saw some statistics this morning indicating that the in-person early vote so far has a plurality of those folks have been Black voters who skew heavily Democratic. So that would be good news for Senator Warnock so far.
What was the reason behind making the time shorter between the election and the runoff in this case? What were some of the factors that played into that decision that makes this one so unique?
Right. So I will say that, after the 2020 election, there are folks who believe that Governor Kemp's bill, SB 202, was in part in response to the fact that Democrats had flipped Georgia for the first time in 2020 on both, or not for the first time, but in a long time on the presidential and Senate levels, the first time that had happened in decades, and that SB 202 was designed in part to perhaps make it harder for Democrats to replicate some of those victories. There was a sense that the length of the runoff campaign in 2020 gave Jon Ossoff, now Senator, and Warnock opportunities to change the dynamic against the two incumbent senators that they were running against. And also that the extended period of voting allowed the Democratic turnout machine and their ground game to get more and more of their voters out to the polls. The fundamentals for a runoff typically favor Republicans, and historically Republicans have wanted the runoff system as designed in place in Georgia. The runoff in 2020 was the first time in a long time that Democrats had won. And because runoffs are typically lower turnout, the people who do show up are older, more reliable voters, groups that tend to skew Republican. So now with the shorter race, Democrats have less time to get their voters out. But Warnock has done this before. He's essentially been running for the last, 3+ years. And so they know how to handle this situation, even if it is a shortened runoff.
Finally, Sam, you wrote about this, and I only have a few seconds left, but Brian Kemp is now lending his support to Herschel Walker. What changed?
Brian Kemp won in a landslide, not a landslide, but he won a comfortable victory over Stacey Abrams. He has tons of political capital. He has considerable campaign organization, and there's no downside for him in finally sort of going to stump for and embracing Herschel Walker, somebody who he sort of had to keep at arm's length during the campaign due to Walker's sort of pile of scandals. But Kemp is in a strong position. He has the role potentially of being sort of the Republican hero, and he's leveraging his solid reputation in the state to help get a Republican senator elected.
And he may have political aspirations beyond the gubernatorial seat as well. Sam Brodey with the Daily Beast, thank you. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.